So we were talking about your personal development and the competitiveness of kids, or your competitiveness and how you don't let your competitiveness overtake the competitiveness of kids' development. Um, if you can kind of just touch on that real quick.
Um, yeah, so I feel like I'm in a kind of an interesting situation. I coach youth volleyball, so I'm a 12s coach, and I love it. It is probably a lot harder than coaching the high school kids, but you know, volleyball is such a technical sport, and so I think getting kids the right mechanics when they're young helps them because a lot of the times with the high school kids, you're not changing the way they hit the ball. You're not doing a lot of changing. And so my big thing that I've always told, parents or family that, kids need coaches when they're young that are going to teach them the right technical skills, the right, the mechanics of volleyball because if they don't get it then it's really hard to change, and especially in a sport of volleyball. And so I kind of got into coaching club, um, but having done it now, it's so important. That is 12, 13, 14. That's when they become volleyball players in my head, and you know we need coaches to work with the younger ones. And everyone wants to be with the 16 to 17-year-olds because it's easier, quite frankly. And so I think as the club world gets crazier, um, it's so important to find a coach that is going to teach the technical stuff and not worry about winning or the ego of the coach that they have to win. Um, so yeah, that's why developing at a young age is huge, because they need to learn the skill before they come to me because they have to know it by then. They're not going to make the team. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's I like hearing that because development at the younger ages, the youth, and my kids play soccer, and the earlier that they can learn some of the skills and the ability with their feet, it just makes it easier as their body then goes and they start to move faster and things process faster. The game gets faster. If
Yeah.
you don't have that base to fall back on, it's hard to learn it as a high schooler.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's examples of kids that, can. There's always those one-offs too, the
Yeah.
special kids that just are crazy. They can do whatever they want. But for the most part, if you really want to be a good high school player and getting that base at a younger age, and
Mhm.
so I do like to hear that. We've talked about your success, and so this first question may be easier than the second question because you may not have encountered the second question as much. But first off, how do you prepare when you're going into the state championship or a big game? How do you prepare your team for that so they don't get all out of sorts, maybe extra nervous because of the big game? But then how do you, in the off chance that you do lose that game, how are
Mhm.
you going to handle and what do you say to your team to prepare them for that? Because as you go through life, you're going to have big moments in your life, and sometimes you're going to win those big moments, and there are going
Mhm.
to be downfalls. And so, how as a coach do you prepare for both of those?
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I try to be the same, whether we're playing, a team that's 25-0 or we're playing a team that's, 1-50. Because, trying to instill to them that, we need to focus on us. I say that all the time, especially in volleyball, in basketball and football, you're doing a lot of scouting and what can the other team do? And volleyball is very unique because everyone's running the same. You're not doing a whole lot different than the other team. So, we talk a lot about focus on us. What can we do better than the other team? Um, I'm big on you have to win the serve pass game, which is kind of technical, but you have to win the serve pass game. And that has nothing to do with the other side of the net. That has to do with us. And so, um, you know, talking a lot about, doing the little things right. And then when things do go wrong, I think it's easy in coaching to, show your emotion and just lose it. If we lose to a team that's terrible, naturally that's what every coach wants to do, is just lay into them. And I think there's a time and a place for that. Um, but with high schoolers, you can't drag that on, because hey, guess what? We're playing on Thursday and we just got our butt kicked on Tuesday. Um, so really talking about, why did we do so bad, and having those conversations, because if they're just defeated, then I'm not going to get their best the next day if I'm still talking about how terrible we played. So I think, it goes with, as a coach, what are you bringing to the table when your team is winning or when your team is losing? And just making sure it's consistent on my end, but at the same time holding them accountable. I'm not losing a game and walking out of the gym like, oh, they're going to do better on Thursday. Like that's fake and that's not real. But really getting them to understand why they lost, and what they can do better next time. Because with any sport, it's mental. If the physical things are there, then it's mental. And getting them to stay bought in, even though everything's not always going to be right. And we talk a lot at the beginning of the year about barriers and values. So, like, one barrier is, hey, a kid gets hurt. Okay, we talk about that at the beginning of the year. What are we going to do if this happens? So then, if stuff like that happens, then they know, because we've already talked about it. So kind of like doing the prep work, I guess, and
Mhm.
then hoping that they remember what you talked about in August.
Yeah. No, the one of the main things I heard you say, and I've heard from a number of coaches, and Coach Roby actually talked about it, and people have mentioned it about him, and I've heard it about you, is consistency, and that's in who you are from day to day. And yeah, there's going to be days where maybe you feel a little better than the other day or the next day or something. So I mean, you're human, so there's going to be a little up and down, but
Mm-hmm.
overall, there's that consistency that coaches coming in, and this is the expectation. Just because we won this big game or lost this big game, our expectations aren't going to change. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Today's what matters, and we need to continue to move forward and get better. And as you said, with ourselves, like understand what are we, how do we improve so we
Yeah.
can move forward. Um, you talked a little technical in there, and I loved it because I am not that familiar with volleyball. I have watched it, and there's a lot going on that I have no idea what they're doing. I mean, there's young ladies going every which direction, and I don't understand it, but it's fascinating when it works. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you played the position of libero. I don't know what that means. So would you be kind enough to kind of explain it to me and whoever listens to this that doesn't understand it? Because
Yeah.
because I've got people that have told me before, and it just doesn't make sense to
Yeah. So it's kind of unique, because in other sports, you don't see somebody wearing the different color jersey. But basically, they're a passing specialist. They can't go in the front row. They can play two people's back row, um, and really their main job is to pass the ball, to play defense and to pass. But it's more complicated than it actually is, like in real life, I guess. But yeah, just passing and passing and being a good passer, because I think I am hard on that with my teams, even the 12-year-olds. Like, we pass a lot, and they're probably like, oh my gosh, we all we do is pass, because obviously our coach can't hit. Like, not that, but we pass a lot because you if you can't pass, you're not going to win. And that's the truth. So yes, passing is I'd say my favorite to teach. I set in high school. I should never have been a setter. I'm way too short, but it's I don't know. I think it's helped me later on to kind of understand different positions. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. You being someone that has played that position at a high level, you played a couple years at Neo Show. Um, I'm that way with um, whoever plays point guard for me. I grew up playing point guard. I never played college, but it's to me it's the most important position in basketball. So I totally understand that
yeah.
drive to maybe not nitpick, but kind of nitpick that position more than maybe others that you
Oh
weren't
yeah.
as good at. Because that's, like when somebody does a post move, I'm like, I'm 5'10" on a good day. I've never done a post move. So kudos to you. But well, thank you for doing that. And then now, do they ever get subbed out? Like, because I know there's some sub rules.
Yeah.
I just found this out of, I think, Coach Dorsey. I'm good friends with Brian Dorsey, and he informed me there's limitations on the number of subs or something. It just blew my mind. Um, that if you pass that number, you're stuck with the six that are on there, and you got to be careful. Does the libero ever leave the court?
Yeah. So, like typically, and this isn't on every team, but typically, if you've got a kid that's really good at passing, um, like they go in for the middles. So they can stay in, and then when the M2, if she's the person who's not serving, or who is serving, they go serve, and then the libero comes off, and then once the team loses the rally, then the libero goes back on.
Okay. Okay. Well,
It's
that's
it's
good to know.
honestly so confusing to you know to talk about. I don't used to just watching it.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's very unique. And those liberos don't count for towards your substitution number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Um, so kind of transitioning to the upcoming season, I know there's something pretty special happening on September 2nd, if I remember right. You want to talk about what's coming up at Mill Valley on September 2nd?
Yeah. So obviously I feel like the world has seen last year when Nebraska did the outdoor game. They had like 90,000 fans. Um, I think it was in May. I had a volleyball parent reach out to me and say like, "Hey, why don't we do an outdoor game? Like it's never been done in Kansas. What do you think?" And obviously I'm down for a lot of things. And I was like, yeah, like let's do it. And so we are, if as long as the weather is good, we are gonna host the first ever Kansas outdoor volleyball game at Mill Valley on the second. I think we're gonna start around 7:30, hopefully when the sun goes down. And yeah, I mean, it's been a learning curve. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of people that have helped. Um, and so I hope it's amazing. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, it's been fun, and I've learned a lot about things I didn't know before this. So yeah, we're really excited.
Well, when you're the first to do something, it's always amazing, even if it's not when you look
Yeah,
back at
yeah,
it. So it's going to be amazing. I have no doubt about that. Mill Valley does a great job with their athletics and kind of pushing that envelope to do some cool things. And so, is there going to be what's the best way going to be to get some tickets for anybody that's not in the know from what Mill Valley's got going on? Maybe if you're just a volleyball fan and want to see something for the first time ever, um, how can they get tickets? And is there going to be a limitation on the number of seats, or we can have anything like that?
yeah. Actually, the ticket link is live, um, and I've posted it on our social media pages. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it would be my dream to be like, oh yeah, it's sold out. But I, I don't think as of right now we're not gonna like limit anyone. Um, but you just never know. I feel like
Yeah.
it's trying to, I've got the kids, which is really cool. I've pushed it on the kids like, hey, if you want this to happen, like you've got to help out. So they kind of made little teams, like a marketing team, and and they went and found sponsors. And so, if it is a big turnout, it's kudos to the kids. I mean, they've been coming up with ideas to, they've made the design, they're doing t-shirts. So it's honestly been really fun because, like I said, a lot of people are really excited for it. So,
Yeah, you mentioned it's on the um, social media pages. Do you want to go ahead and give those so we can try to push this out? We will also do that as well.
okay.
And we're going to try to push this out. I'm not sure what I got going on the second, but if I'm available, I'm planning to come watch.
Yeah. Yeah, we post a lot of stuff on Facebook, Mill Valley High School Volleyball. And then Instagram is the other one. It's Mill Valley VB. And then Twitter too. I think it's just Mill Valley High School. But yeah, we're excited, and I think the main thing is to grow the game of volleyball. I don't think people realize that you know Kansas City is an awesome place for volleyball, and I know you mentioned Dorsey. I mean, what she's done at St. James in the last, I don't know how long she's been there, is just awesome to see. And she does the slam, the televised game this year. I think it's August 30th. So just get the word out. And obviously I'm a big female sports person, but yeah, I mean, we're excited, and I hope that everything goes well. And then we also have a backup if it rains or something. September 6th is backup. So,
Well, that's great. And yeah, my first two guests, uh, a girls coach from DeSoto and Coach Roby, and now a volleyball coach. So I'm also a big fan of the female sports. I got a daughter; she's going to be in sixth grade, and um, we'll see if she continues to play sports or whatever her future holds. But anything we can do to get it out. Before we let you go, I'm going to hit you with some quick hitters here. Can you give me your starting six of the kids you've coached in your career?
oh gosh, this is really hard. When I saw that, well, first of all, I'm like, I don't even know how coaches come up with that. I could
Okay.
probably like a starting
You
20.
well, so Coach Roby broke it. He did eight. So if you can have a couple of subs if you need.
Okay.
Not 20 though.
So obviously, I have a lot of kids that are at Mill Valley right now that, they've either graduated or they're there right now. And, you know, for some of them, they're like generational kids. Like just the level at which they play. Um, I've got a kid that I was a Mill Valley grad. She's playing at Loyola Chicago. And just, watching her continue to grow, and her best volleyball is being played in college. Um, Caitlin Burke is her name. And then graduated at a middle last year, Seda, who holds like 3 records at Mill Valley that honestly, I don't know how they're going to get broken. And this is so hard. I coached a couple kids in Manhattan that were just great kids, and they'll call me every now and then and say, "Hey, what do we do about this? I'm coaching club," and I'm like, "Oh, you want to know from me?" Um, and then I like my assistant for club is my former player at Manhattan High School, so she's got to make that list. And then I obviously my setter at Mill Valley is the real deal. She's going to play at Iowa State next year. And it's kind of special because I came to Mill Valley, I had no idea what I was getting into. I was just so determined, like I've got to have everything ready. And she was a freshman my first year, and I mean, she's she's an awesome kid, and I probably don't tell her that enough. That hey, you're kind of good at volleyball, but I'll leave that for when she graduates. But I don't know what number I'm at. There's so many kids. I've got another kid who's a junior who is the most competitive. Her name's Riley Riggs. Probably one of the most competitive kids I've ever been around. And I don't know what, but it's hard. It's really hard because there's so many kids, and I know I'm leaving someone off the list, but
All right,
yeah,
so your setter at Mill Valley. So we got your setter, and what's her name?
Ella Flores.
Ella Flores. Um, who would be your libero?
Ooh, libero. Well, the kid I coached in Manhattan, she would probably be my libero. Um, and gosh, this is hard. This is really hard. There's another outside that was at Mill Valley when I got there, Madeline. She was, you know, a great leader, and especially when you have a new coach your senior year, I feel like that's hard on the kids. And she was great. She was an awesome leader, which in turn helped, her team make it as far as they did. So yeah, I don't know what number I'm at, but I think that's six.
Yeah, I think we've covered it. So that's good. I know that's not an easy thing, and I appreciate you indulging me on that one. So let's flip it then. And maybe this one will be a little easier for you. Who would be a team of six that you've coached against that you're like, man, that she's good.
Um, so honestly, the best kid I've ever had to coach against, honestly, I think goes down probably one of the best ever in Kansas. Brooklyn DeLay from Washburn Rural. She, she was humble. I just remember having to play them at the state tournament, and they were in serve receive, and she was taking up 3/4 of the court, and you don't see that in volleyball. Um, she's definitely, like, if I had to say an all time high school MVP, I'm voting for her. And she's actually up for National Play of the Year watch list. And she's at Kentucky right now. So she's definitely on the list. I always tell her high school coach, like, that kid is awesome. And she was humble. She played soccer, basketball, and volleyball at a very high level, which you don't hear that nowadays in 6A. Um, and then obviously a kid that graduated last year, Logan Parks. She's going to Stanford. She's an incredible athlete. Um, and again, she was also a multi-sport athlete. I think she played basketball too. And then the setter from St. James, Reese Messer, that graduated last year, I think. Um, she she was an incredible athlete. And then obviously probably the outside at Olathe, or she went to Olathe Northwest, and now she's at Nebraska. Um, just, I mean, it's awesome to see a kid from our area go play at Nebraska. And then I just, I mean, there was a libero at St. James, last name Bolton. I mean, you could not serve her the ball, or you were going to lose the point. Um, but honestly, there's Brooklyn DeLay is like the first one that comes to my mind, and she was truly the best I've ever seen in high school level, and to see her go do what she's done at Kentucky is pretty cool.
Yeah, you've referenced it a couple of times, that the quality of volleyball player that the Kansas City and surrounding areas are putting out. So I knew that might be easier because they weren't specifically your players and you're having to pick and choose between kids you've actually got to really know. But I knew it
Hmm.
wasn't necessarily that easy because there's a lot of good players in the area.
Yeah.
And so the final thing I would like for you to do is I think I was going to have you do like your all-time favorite, and you can do that, but maybe just put out there some college or professional volleyball players that some younger kids should maybe try to watch throughout the year.
Yeah, I think, obviously there's so many, being a not very tall person in the volleyball world, Nebraska's libero from last year, Lexi Rodriguez, um, to see what she's accomplished, at that level. And I don't know, I think she's like 5'6" or something, is super, super cool. And then my brother is actually a sports information director at the University of Arkansas, and um, just a couple years ago, they had a team that was, not expected to do much. I don't know if that's the right word. They weren't expected to. Hang on. Sorry.
That's okay.
I don't know what I was saying.
You were talking about the team at Arkansas a couple years ago that maybe was under the radar and really took off.
Yeah. They had a Hannah Hogue. She was awesome to watch. I mean, it's hard. I was a really big fan of Louisville last year, and just seeing what they accomplished. It's hard to say like specific kids or players because you know, in my volleyball is just such a team sport. You can't have one kid in games. So yeah,
Well, Kylie, thank you for dealing with the technology issues. I wish I was more help. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy with the season coming up. I believe tryouts start next Monday for fall
yes,
sports, and so that's right around the corner. September 2nd is going to be here before you know it, and you got that big outdoor game, which is amazing. And kudos to you and your team and your staff and the AD over at Mill Valley. And I just wish you the best of luck. Um, Good luck on the three-peat. I know it's a long
thank
ways
you.
from now, and you don't want to necessarily talk about it right now, but that's what I can do because I don't have to put in the work. So good luck with the year. And thank you for coming on and chatting with us.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.
All right. Thank you.